Hey there, everyone. Happy Monday. As usual, I'm going to go over QQQ, SPY, and IWM, tracking the major indices that are out there, the NASDAQ 100, S&P 500, and the Russell 2000, respectively. But I also have a massive Bitcoin update for you, including XRP as well. We're going to talk about that. But then I have some individual companies that I think have interesting charts. And I'll tell you what, one of them that I've been watching really popped off last Friday. It could continue its run today. And a few others that might not have made their move yet. So I want to get right into it. I'm going to share these, by the way, and more of my technical analyses over at the Discord. It's a community of 1,000 members, and it is a joint Discord with other panel experts over there as well. You can come and check it out using the link in the description. Make sure you sign up for the earner tier when you do. In the meantime, I do want to get right into the charts on this. So what we're looking at first here is QQQ tracking the NASDAQ 100, made it up to the 50 EMA. I said, watch out for that. We could get some resistance. Also, if you watch my last video from Friday, you'll know what I said about this week being a massive week with our GDP advanced estimate for Q1 and also the Atlanta Fed's initial nowcast for our GDP nowcast for Q2. So we want to be watchful for that. For what sort of signs do we get? And I literally mean positive or negative signs, expansion or contraction for the economy, because that's going to be really, really impactful, I think, as a market catalyst. We definitely would be watchful for that. And one of the reasons why I think we might see a little bit of muted movement in the pre-market hours, along with the fact that we're near that 50 EMA. If we go over to the SPY, as we look at this one, it's in front of our eyeballs right now. We fell short of the 50 EMA. We're above the 5 and the 13, just like we were with the Qs. That is near-term bullishness that we see, the RSI over 50. So it was with the Qs. Very similar charts here with a couple different nuances that we have in there as well. Didn't make it up to the 50 EMA. If you look left, we have a bit of resistance over here that we hit with the SPY that kind of slowed down some of that popping off, if you will. Lots of corporate earnings. I think 180 of the 500 S&P 500 companies are actually reporting earnings this week. So that's also going to be pretty wild to mix in with GDP and then also the labor market information that we have. We go to IWM, much farther away from, well, that's the SMA that we're looking at. Let's put up the EMAs just for a moment because we made it up above the 5 and the 13. It fell well below the 50, still below this white trend line that we have right here, which happens to be part of a massive bull channel that I've talked about for months now on my channel. There you go. Here's what we got. I said that IWM, the Russell 2000 stocks, come to life below the green line. And so I started my dollar cost averaging there. And that position is doing quite well as we move back up above it. And so if we go down to the daily chart here, there you are. Here's the white line and where we find ourselves. Got a rejection going back to Wednesday of last week. Didn't quite make it up there yet. All right. So for Bitcoin, where do we find ourselves right now? Bitcoin actually making a fairly strong move up just recently as I've been sitting here working through the video that I was going to make for all of you. 95,148, that's $4 away from this peak. Now, mind you, we already broke that. We got 95,857. So we broke all these previous peaks in between. Now we're back above this high that we have right here. The volume movement that we had was decent. Closing up above 95,000 is actually pretty important for us. If I snag this Fibonacci extension tool, click on the bottom of this, click on the peak of that, and then go down to the bottommost point that we have there. 95,118 is that number that we need to sit on top of in order to keep this movement going. Again, $95,118 per BTC is what we have to sit on top of in order to see that further upward movement. And if you look at the candles that we have in here, in accordance with that gray line that comes across, we just haven't sat on top of it yet. We got reject, 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 3 rejections in a row. Today, we're trying to out again. As I speak, we're trying to close up above the 95,118. If we can, 98,451, and then 102,544, and then up above that is where we start to get that resistance, this all-time high resistance that we just could not sit on top of before. So for the first time in history, please, dear Lord, let's sit on top of that finally. And see that further upside to Bitcoin. Long term, definitely bullish on Bitcoin. Near term, I think we have our challenges. Moving over to XRP. What's going on with XRP? Well, actually a pretty darn important thing because we have the price action moving up above the 5. So sitting on top of the 5, this is bullish to see us sitting on top of the moving averages as opposed to dangling off the moving averages, which is a bearish sign. So we have that bullish sign of sitting on top of the moving averages. The 5 crossed over the 50. The 5 crossed over the 13. The 13 is getting darn close to crossing over the 50. And if we get Bitcoin making a much stronger move up, the altcoins could make that tail whip effect where you start to see that outperformance, that skyrocketing, if you will, as Bitcoin's market cap makes a huge pull on those smaller market cap items that we have. So for XRP, even though its market cap is also pretty darn massive, we could see that big move coming soon, a big bullish move coming, the RSI up above 50. And like I said, the 5 is above the 13, the 5 is above the 50. We want the 13 to cross the 50 next. If we put up the simple moving averages just for a moment to find out where we are, we actually got cradled by the 50 SMA, just like we got cradled by the 20 SMA here. And I said, this is a bullish sign to see this support hold out, and then look at the pop that we got. Then we had that cradling by the 50, and then look at the pop that we got, and we are up above the 200. So still overall in bullish territory for XRP. In terms of going past the highs, we made a higher high from this one and a higher high from that one, and our lows are moving up as well. So we want to see that push keep on going to keep on catalyzing us upward, onward and upward for XRP. And like I said, if Bitcoin can do it, we're in good shape. Looking at the weekly chart for XRP, we also have a rising RSI and it's above 50. And if we go to the monthly chart, we've cooled off down below the overbought territory, down into just the bullish territory, which is a good place to be. Now, for those penny stocks, I got a couple of them for you here. I got 3 penny stocks, and then we're going to close it up with Tesla, so a mega cap stock here. So moving into Big Bear AI. This one I talked about going back to when we started bottoming out on this thing, and I said we could bottom out around 250-ish, and you guys can see the rise that we got out of this, having a 21% day on Friday. Unfortunately for me, I had some family stuff to take care of Friday. Couldn't be in the markets that day. This is the day that I would have been trading that. Absolutely, unequivocally would have been jumping in. So I'm hoping that you guys were watching this. I'm hoping people over at the Discord were also watching this to make that move happen. And so far, we got it. The price action in the pre-market hours up above the 50 EMA. That's a bullish thing. And the 5 has crossed the 13, also bullish. RSI up above 50. And so everything that I said could come together for us. And if it did, it would be big things. It all came together on Friday. We had that big movement happen with volume confirmation. So that means that this movement could just be getting started. So far in the pre-market hours, we did get rejected right around the $4 mark. So we want to be watchful for that, because that is a little bit of that psychological resist, but we also have an area of chop between 4 and 5. That volume movement could be the thing that allows us to push up from where we're at right now, up that next 25% to that $5 mark. But like I said, it's got a lot of resistance to fight. If it can break $5, we have room up to $5.87. So mind you, overall market bias is going to have a lot to do with it. So the JOLTS report on Tuesday is going to have a lot to do with it. GDP on Wednesday is going to have a lot to do with it. And then on Friday, non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, those are also likely going to impact that rising tide or the ebbing tide that happens to be the overall market bias. So we need to be prepared. We need to be watchful for what's going on a macro level to influence the penny stocks. Like I said about on Friday about the tail whip effect that the market could have on the penny stocks, that still happens in both directions. So we do want to watch for that. Rekor, R-E-K-R. This one I also mentioned that we could see that movement. So far we got it. Maybe a little bit less mature than what we had for BBAI, which means more opportunity. You can see the rising volumes that we have down here on the chart. Rising price action, 5's above the 13. Bullish, RSI above 50, also bullish. We want to see that next push upward. It bumped into resistance over here on Friday, and then it got rejected a little bit. We want to trade up above that 50. If we can sit on top of that, we have our next big move set up for us for R-E-K-R. So for Rekor, QSI moving into quantum. So I was talking about Rigetti, which mind you, I still have Rigetti on my list. It's just not something covering in this video. I still think that there's potential for Rigetti RGTI to make that movement, but this movement looks so darn ripe for a big one, plus being the penny stock and being a little bit less mature than the other two. BBAI, most mature so far. In the midst of its movement, REKR, probably just getting started. This one hasn't quite started yet, but let's talk about some of the characteristics. The 5 crossing the 13, the price action sitting on top of it, the RSI still down below 50. Don't have that volume pop yet, but there's something, like I feel it with the quantum stocks, that there's some news coming up, something setting up for us that next big pop is coming. Again, pay attention to overall market bias, but the stuff that I can't control aside from that if the overall market bias happens to push bullish and we also get that big movement in quantum stocks, QSI could most definitely rip along with it in an outsized way. And I'll tell you what, the technicals are lining up absolutely beautiful for this. So guys, these technicals, these analyses, also further analyses that just doesn't quite make it to YouTube, all of it lands over at my expert channel over at the Discord. Like I said, the link's in the description. Use the earner tier so you can see all the expert analyst chat. You also can see for the expert panel, there's like a channel called Ask the Expert. You can ask us, we can answer your questions for you, which can be super helpful, especially when you have those nuanced questions that we can get back to you in a text-based format with that nuance along with the answers that you're looking for to the best of our abilities. Now, mind you, also over there, you have the buys and sells of the panel experts. You also have the bread bot, which can tell you when the big moves are coming, which I allude to in these videos. So there's that to help you out as well. There's advanced charting tools, AI tools, and a community of thousands of members there to support you as well. I don't know what you're waiting for at this point in time. The link's in the description, waiting for you to click it and sign on up. Once again, make sure you take advantage of the earner tier, as that one has the most unrestricted access that you're going to get to that Discord, everything that has to offer, and you just scroll through the products and services, and it feels almost endless for what's there waiting for you. And you guys, if you also want to learn about technical analysis yourself, you want to learn about trading strategy called the bread recipe, and if you also want to learn about trading options, there's some coursework through Stockmo Academy. That link's down in the description. Use code word doctor. Both of these things help support the channel as well as supporting you in just pays back in dividends. The more you lean into it, the more you learn from it, the more that you can learn how to pursue that financial freedom and how to bring more potential for alpha into your portfolios. Make sure you use code word doctor when you sign up for those courses, and also for those courses, if you bundle them, you save even more. All right, let's get into the final chart here. Tesla. So for Tesla, what do we got? There we go. Tesla's been on a tear recently, and it's actually coming back to retest this orange line coming across here, arcing across your screen. That's the 200-day simple moving average, trying to flip back to bullish. The RSI is already above 50, and we're up above the 20 and the 50, but those are both below the 200-day. So the fact that we have the faster moving averages down below the slower, that's a bearish thing. It could cause us to have a rejection right at around 288, 289, 290, where you see this moving average coming across here, which right now it says 291.34 is that number. So right around 290-ish is where we want to watch for. If Tesla makes that climb, will we get a massive rejection there and go back and retest the 50 SMA? There's a potential that we do. If this blue 20 crosses over the 50, that's a bullish thing. If we can get the 20 to cross the 200 and especially the 50 over the 200, those are also very bullish signs that we want to watch for. If Tesla is going to continue bullish, it needs to sit on top of the 200-day. And then on a technical level, Tesla is also bullish. We have strong price movement so far. The volumes, let's take a look at the volumes for a moment. We'll reset that, and we're going to stretch out the volumes down here so we can really see them in a more substantial way. There we go. Volume that we had on Friday, not so darn bad. That could actually be that next movement that causes enough of momentum to happen and to push us up over that 200, allow us to sit on top of it and start to drag up these slower or these faster moving averages and also get them to sit on top. On an exponential moving average basis, where are we looking? Well, we crossed the 50 EMA, the 5's over the 13. Getting the 5 to cross the 50, good. Getting the 13 to cross the 50, great. So for Tesla, looks like near term, we could see some more bullishness. Once again, I'm going to keep reminding you about the overall market bias. We want to watch for that. But if the overall market bias stays bullish, Tesla is going to keep outperforming. At least in my opinion, I think that we're going to see it, especially if we can get up above the 200-day. But these near-term technicals, these exponential moving averages, are certainly pointing in that direction. So, guys, to summarize this thing, we definitely need to watch to see macro, what's happening, what's going on with China and the US with the trade war, because the more that cools down and the more agreement that we get, especially if it's a favorable agreement, we see more upward pressure in the markets, or at least that release of downward pressure in the markets that has it still sort of muted so far. So we definitely want to see tariff progress. Good tariff progress, I should say, to make that happen. We also want good GDP numbers. We want them to be positive for Q1. We want it to be positive for Q2. And the more that we have that, now mind you, positive for Q1 because the advanced estimate with not necessarily a full quarter's worth of data, but a lot of the data from Q1, that's going to be something to relieve some of that upward pressure on the markets. Negative for Q1, especially looking to see what Q2 has to say. that's not necessarily going to be so great for the market. So we want to pay attention to that. Also, the labor market reports that we have coming out. So JOLTS, non-farm payrolls, and then unemployment rate. So Tuesday for JOLTS and then Friday for the other two. Got to pay attention to all that. With all that said, if that stuff goes favorably, we should see a lot of really wild and bullish movements with favorable news. So for labor market, either tightening or no further loosening. Either one, we'll take it. GDP, hopefully positive. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. And then our eyes get to go to the inflation reports that follow that one as well. So with the stocks that I have here, with the analyses that I have, come on over to the Discord, join us, links in the description, and investing yourself through the coursework that's also down in the description for technical analysis, including the bread recipe and options. Make sure when you sign up for that, bundle the courses, use code word doctor. Guys, you won't be sorry that you did. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.